Banquo trilogy, Birthright. On behalf of us all here this evening, I would like to thank you, Tanya, for your generous hospitality and to congratulate you on the new addition to your family.
Thank you.
As Tanya herself says, it has been a long time between drinks, but as with all good things, it has been worth the wait. Banquo's Son was published in 2009, and after a remarkable debut at number 3 on the bestsellers list, it was shortlisted for the young adult section of the New Zealand Post Children's Book Awards 2010. That's a mouthful, isn't it? It was awarded a Notable Book Award by the Storylines Children's Literature Foundation of 2010, and it won the inaugural young adult section of the 2010 Lianza Awards. This was followed shortly afterwards, in 2010, by the second book of the trilogy, Bloodlines, which was a finalist for the Lianza Children's Book Awards in 2011. And now, after an impatient 3 years, it is fantastic to find that Birthright, fresh on the shelves and already has placed 3rd on the list of New Zealand listeners' 50 best children's books of 2013. I think that's amazing. Anne Packer, who writes to the listener, describes the book as Tanya's magnificent obsession and faithful to the spirit of Shakespeare. I think we'd all agree with that, I certainly would. Having read the first 2 books in the trilogy immediately after seeing a stage production of Macbeth, I was delighted with the seamless transition from Will Shakespeare's ancient Scottish play to the world Tanya has so elegantly created for young Fleance. In a few minutes, I'll ask Tanya's daughter McKenna to step forward and speak about her mother's journey in bringing these wonderful books into the world. But first, I'd like to read a message from Tanya's publisher, Katie Haworth of Penguin Group New Zealand. Unfortunately, Katie wasn't able to join us tonight, but she has this to say. On behalf of Penguin New Zealand, I would like to say how delighted we are to be releasing the 3rd and final novel in Tanya Roxborough's Banquo's Son series. Or should that be Tanya Roxborough's epic Banquo's Son series? Epic is a word that gets bandied about a lot, especially in publishing. It's one of those words that's often not used correctly. I recently heard radio DJs discussing modern use of epic. If not very epic things are described as epic, then what word will we use when things are really epic? Epic seems to be going the way of awesome, but that's cool, as in a positive adjective, not in one meaning slightly chilly. Language changes. But I want to talk about epic in the traditional sense. It comes from the Latin epicus, which is derived from a Greek root, which means a narrative poem or song. This is why the Iliad and the Odyssey are epic poems. To be honest, a comparison to the Odyssey isn't a terrible place to start when looking at Tanya's trilogy. After all, we have a hero who goes on a huge journey and overcomes many obstacles. It's an Odyssey of sorts, and like the Odyssey, it contains an uneasy homecoming. A teenage boy from northern England returns to Scotland, the land of his birth, and ends up claiming its throne and holding it amidst all sorts of bloody conflict. One of the many elements Tanya has masterfully brought into the series is the constant unease of holding power and the dangerous diplomacy associated with kingship. But the other reason that overused word epic is so appropriate here is that it certainly describes the journey of the author herself. Writing such a huge trilogy is a subject worthy of an epicus, especially when the author has consistently worked full-time through the process, something which I feel I must acknowledge, because finding the time for such a huge undertaking hasn't always been easy, and we are so grateful Tanya persevered. To write this trilogy, it's been necessary for our author to invent and then immerse herself in the world of the books, and to create that world is no small task. The menace of the witches, the brutality of 11th century politics, the piety of the era, the atmosphere of a medieval battle, these are only some of the things that had to be brought to life. On top of this, there are relationships between many characters to be sustained and developed for 3 books, plot threads to stitch up, romances to be teased out, villains to humanise, tiny things that need to be consistent across 3 books, and quite a few years of writing. Even my description of the work involved is only scratching at the surface of the thousands of hours and tons of creative energy and imagination that have gone into this series. It was an epic endeavour, truly. I think we can all be delighted with the results too. In writing Banquo's Son, Bloodlines and Birthright, Tanya has let us into her own version of Shakespeare's 11th century Scotland, and we can experience beyond Macbeth. We can watch these characters on their journeys, love them, hate them, yell, "No, don't!" at our books when they are making things worse for themselves. We love these characters for their flaws as much as anything else. I know from my own enjoyment of the series and from what other readers have told me just how absorbing Flea and Rachel and Rosie are. That level of involvement in any story is quite a gift to be given. We create some pretty epic books in New Zealand. This is one of them, and I wholeheartedly recommend it. Congratulations, Tanya, and thank you. Katie Haworth. Katie is the commissioning editor of Fiction and Children's, Penguin Group, New Zealand.